My name is Gareth W. Rawson, R-O-S-S-O-N. I was born in Missouri, live in Illinois now for 65 years. 1946 and 1947, the 14 months I was on Iwo Jima, I was acting first sergeant of the Ordnance Company, 3605th HAM Company and the 199 Depot Company. The one that I watched them bury him, it was dug with a bulldozer, and they placed the bodies in the trenches, crossways like this, and then we were there about 2 or 3 hours, I guess, after they started loading them in there, and we made sure that each one, at least we hoped they did, the dog tags was on them. Well, I'd say around 8,000.
More than 25,000 service members, both American and Japanese, died at the Battle of Iwo Jima. The bodies of most of them have remained on the island for more than 60 years.
I was very inquisitive at first, subjective, because there's a lot of frauds and phonies out there. Trust me. I've had dozens of emails, people respond to me from that very site. I want to get on Iwo Jima, I want to get on Iwo Jima, this type of thing. But they didn't have any concrete type of information evidence. Now, Bill Rosen's stuff was too exact. It was too detailed. Now, did I keep questioning? Of course, being a first active Army, you want to make sure that any information is accurate and very up to date, you know. And he wanted to do it for the right reason, and which is different. He didn't want to go on the island just to see the island. I want to help bring these people back and home and close a chapter in my life which has been opened. I approached the Japanese military. They did their initial research to it. They were sold on it. Then they went up their chain of command into the government. And the government, for the first time, has met with a person, a former military member, with this information. So it was the magnitude of it, 8,000 to 10,000 souls buried in 3 mass graves. So Mr. Rosen, Mr. Bolus were talked to today by those representatives.
I had read an article in our local newspaper that had the copy of Parade magazine in it. And in that, it had on the cover, the man we left behind. So I read the article. In fact, I read it a few times because I couldn't believe that here's a man who gave us the patriotic symbol we see to this day being raised over Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima, and we left him in a cave. I make it my business to track down anybody that was a survivor of Iwo Jima. I've spoken in Florida, I've spoken in Pennsylvania, I've spoken at the reunion in Virginia, at the Marine reunion there to the survivors of Iwo Jima. And I want to know as much as I can to be effective as I can in our search. I came across Bill Rosen, who contacted me while I was actually on a cross-country trip. And then I left there and flew cross-country to meet Bill, who met me at an airport. Came out and he had all kind of photographs, and I was just blown away. I recorded him, what he had to say, and photographed everything we were doing there. Because all the stuff he was telling me that he had spent time on the island, and to have a live history book standing before me was just unthinkable, of knowing that this kind of a guy existed.
It didn't bother me, and we did, there's a lot of, well, all the caves had lots of dead bodies in them, from 2 to 3 to 15 or 20, unless you got in some of the big, General's Cave. We went in that one, and it's 76 foot deep and 4 or 5 levels. And a lot of bodies was scattered all through that place there. And we eventually got all of them out that we could get out. Well, all over really, around Mount Suribachi. We brought something there, and up around 362A hill. Well, I just thought you're there, you see it, you got to keep going. You can't just stop there. Otherwise, it'll eat you up. There was no Japanese alive there other than the 2 or 3 that came out of the caves, 49 or 52 or somewhere around in there. Those are the only ones that I seen alive on there.
All the information, I think those individuals were overwhelmed, and they didn't need time to exploit and digest it. The one thing that was the resonating thing, why did you bring this now? Why now? They could not believe and understand, but as Mr. Bolas put out, a lot of doors were slammed in his way. I can't speak for why further investigations. I don't know. I wasn't there, I'm not part of it. You know, it was 3 people trying to resolve an issue, and the right people thought it was credibility was perfect. They believed his story. They accepted all the intelligence and information. Mr. Bolas and Mr. Rosen at a great expense flew all the way to Japan for this meeting. It just, you know, it's more credence to their credibility that they're on the up and up and this can happen.
These were warriors. They all died for one thing, fighting for what they believed in. There's no reason to believe anything else beyond it. And anybody else that would think there were other reasons is a fool. These were people who followed orders, followed their culture, whether it was American culture or Japanese. It's all over with, 60-some years later, and we should all be ashamed of ourselves that we haven't completed the mission to bring these people home. They're the ones who deserve to come home, and there should be no expense spared in doing this. And that's my goal and my ambition to do that. It was Bill's after I spoke with him. As I explained to him, it became his mission too, and he was more than glad to keep supplying me with more information as he opened up about what he went through and what he did on this island. And it made this mission that much more important to say, let's get it done.
I think it should be, yes. Well, they should know about it so it won't happen again. To bring all the boys home, both Japanese and Americans.